see what that experience would be like if you were a student. We will also be covering our faculty and our support team, so that if you were to find yourself as a student in the APOP certificate at the university, what that experience would be like. And then we'll talk a little bit about some of the students that we've been seeing come through the program, so that you can see how they are thinking about and applying positive psychology and using this certificate in their own area. Finally, should you decide that you indeed would like to pursue joining us for the certificate in applied positive psychology, we'll review the application process. Great, so we've got a lot to cover. We're going to dive in and get started right now with a welcome. We're in an unusual environment, so I just want to norm to our environment. Your microphones and your videos are going to remain on mute so that we can keep down background noise and ensure the stability of the platform for everyone. So while we can't see your faces, which is a disappointment to us, what we can do is engage in some other ways. We will be using the chat and the question and answer. What we would love to do is for the chat, we're going to use that for any feedback that we might have during the session, or chit chat between some of the participants. We would like to use the question and answer for those questions that you have that are germane to the program, and we'll be sure that we cover that by the end of the day. So just to practice that a little bit, I'm going to ask you to use your chat right now. So at the bottom of your screen, you may see chat, and if you click on that, it will give you an opportunity to type in. I recognize that people may be dialing in from a variety of different locations, and we'd love to get to know where you're from. So what I'd love for you to do is in the chat, if you're from the US, if you could share with us the city and state that you're hailing from. If you are from outside of the US, we would love for you to share with us the city and country that you're hailing from. We'll take a couple of minutes just to see those roll in. So wonderful. This is terrific. We have somebody from China, from Bermuda. We're welcoming people from Philadelphia, close by to us. That's wonderful. Madison, Wisconsin, New Jersey, Virginia. This is wonderful. And some folks from Maryland. So it seems as though we've got some folks from within the US and some folks from outside of the US. So it's delightful to have you here. And whatever time zone you are coming from, we welcome you. And we're looking forward to sharing some more information with you today. So let us continue on. And I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about positive psychology. Now, some of you may recognize this gentleman and you may not. So this is Martin Seligman. As we know him at the university, Marty, right? That's what he goes as. And so Marty, we're very fortunate to have him at Penn because Marty is considered to be one of the founding fathers of the field of positive psychology. So I'll share with you just a little bit around that origin story. So Marty was elected to be the president of the American Psychological Association in 1998. And at that time, his platform was around two things. One was around preventing ethnopolitical genocide, which is not exactly a positive topic, right? The prevention certainly is. But the other one was that Marty was really interested in what he calls what's north of neutral. So since World War II, psychology has been very focused on helping to remediate some of the downsides of life and some of the major psychopathologies. That has yielded some extraordinary results. About 9 out of the 14 major psychopathologies are now eminently treatable, if not curable. So there have been outstanding results that have come from that. But Marty, as a clinician himself, as a psychologist, found that sometimes even when he remediated a patient's depression or anxiety, he said, instead of a happy person, I just had an empty person, right? So he said the things that were frustrating them and keeping them from being happy were certainly gone, but the things that advanced their happiness were not present yet. And so Marty felt as though there was something that was beyond just prevention and something in promotion and studying what makes life worth living. And so he put a stake in the ground, so to speak, and called to all of his colleagues in the APA and said, we need to start devoting research dollars in this direction so that we can understand and get back to what's essential to us as psychologists, which is about helping people to thrive. And so positive psychology is the scientific study of strengths and virtues that enable individuals and communities to thrive. Marty co-wrote an article that then was in American Psychologist in the year 2000. He co-wrote that with Mihai sent me hi, who is out in California. And the two of them proposed that positive psychology was around studying positive states like positive emotions, positive traits like strengths of character, honesty, and bravery, but then positive institutions too. What are the institutions around us that create an enabling environment for people to thrive? So, positive psychology since that time has really exploded. There are hundreds of researchers around the world. There were some researchers that predated this time too, to be very clear. There have been international conferences that have been launched, and there's really a burgeoning literature in everything from mindfulness to positive emotion, to what we call the eudaimonic side of flourishing, which is around meaning and purpose and our sense of accomplishment. There are a number of professional applications that have exploded. The concept of positive education has taken root. There are applications in coaching, in the field of medicine, and in law. At Penn here, we were pleased to be able to offer the first degree program in positive psychology, which was our Master of Applied Positive Psychology program. And then also the International Positive Psychology Association was founded actually by another member of our Penn team, James Pawelski, who's the founding director of that MAP program. At the Positive Psychology Center here on the Penn campus, then there were then some initiatives that were launched related to positive psychology. Some of those things include, and I'm going to go through these things pretty quickly. This is going to be a rapid tour because I know you want to hear about applied positive psychology certificates. So the International Positive Education Network, which is a global network of educators who are interested in the double helix of advancing not only good academics, but student well-being, was founded here at Penn. The Resilience Training Program, which are led by our colleagues Karen Rivich and Judy Salzberg, and started with work in schools, then advanced on to work in the military, and have worked on increasing skills of flourishing in everything from people in the military to people in corporations to professional sports teams. Our positive health and positive neuroscience grants were launched, as well as some of you may be familiar with the book Grit, which was written by Angela Duckworth, who also happens to be here at Penn. Angela's Character Lab was also launched at that time. The World Wellbeing Project, which looks at big data, such as the information that you put into your Facebook feed or into your Twitter feed, in order to predict whether or not you're flourishing and whether or not the community that you're in is flourishing as well. We have the Humanities and Human Flourishing Project to understand how things like literature and movies influence our ability to be well. And then a number of other initiatives, particularly the Primals Initiative and the Spiritual and Transcendent Experiences, were launched by some PhD students of Marty's that also happened to come through our Master of Applied Positive Psychology program. That is a part of positive psychology education, and that too has grown here at Penn. So let's spend some time talking about that. We have a range of offerings in positive psychology, from what you see there on the left, which is our massive online open courses that are offered through Coursera. Those are the foundations of positive psychology, to what you see on the right with a very intense one-year study in the master's program. What we're going to be spending some time on here today is the certificate in applied positive psychology, but sometimes understanding what that certificate is also about differentiating it from other things. So when we think about those MOOCs, if we were going to call out what that experience is like in a massive online open course, through Coursera, those are self-paced, so you can complete it on your own timeline. It's fully asynchronous, which means that you can dial in at 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern or 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern to be able to study some of that information. So it's fully asynchronous, it's non-credit, and it's really targeted towards the lifelong learner. On the other side of the continuum is the MAP program, which is very intensive. It's 1 year of full-time study that is both synchronous and asynchronous, and our students actually come to campus to matriculate in that program. It offers a graduate degree, and that's targeted towards preparing the practitioner in positive psychology. But importantly, we're interested in the APOP certificate. So the APOP certificate is a 4-course undergraduate certificate. We will be adding 2 courses to that, so it's going to expand to 6, but the core certificate is still 4 courses. Those courses are accelerated. We'll get into that a little bit more deeply, but they're 8-week courses. it involves both asynchronous and synchronous learning. So I've highlighted those in both the APOP and the MAP so that you can understand. In APOP, we highlight the asynchronous learning. In MAP, there's more of a focus on the synchronous learning. You do receive undergraduate credit for engaging in the APOP certificate. It is fully online, so no residency in Philadelphia is required. And our goal through the APOP certificate is to help you to increase your personal and professional effectiveness and your own sense of flourishing. So let's dive in and chat a little bit about that APOP certificate right now. So as I mentioned, it is a 4-course certificate, and we do plan to add 2 more courses. We'll dive into what those courses are in just a little bit. The 4 courses can be completed in 1 academic year, but there is no set time frame for completion. So there's no requirement for you to complete within that year. It is an accelerated pace. So as I mentioned, those are 8-week courses. So take a semester of work, and this is a technical term, smush it down into 8 weeks, and you have one of our accelerated courses. So the pace is a little demanding. It's very fast, but at the same time, I often say to students, the good news is you get done in 8 weeks. The bad news is that you get done in 8 weeks too, right? So you have to work very hard, but the good news is that you are done in 8 weeks. And it's not self-paced. So we do have deadlines in order to make sure that everybody in the class is learning at the same cadence and rhythm. It is fully online, so there are some synchronous sessions that are required, and face-to-face, we say face-to-face, but via Zoom, I should say, recitations that we host. And again, you are not required to travel to campus unless you're pursuing the Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences. So Jamie, would you be willing to share a little bit more about the BAAS?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the students that you might see in your class are students in our Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences degree. And it was great to talk about sort of the innovation of positive psychology here at Penn. But another bit of innovation is that the University of Pennsylvania was the first Ivy League school to launch a fully online bachelor's degree program, and that is the Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences. The program is rooted in the School of Arts and Sciences, but unlike the sort of traditional undergraduate degree, this degree is much more applied. Much like these positive psychology courses, the classes are designed to be applied to the workplace and help move someone along in their career.
Wonderful. I think that that's super helpful. And so within the applied positive psychology classroom, as Jamie mentioned, you'll see both people that are both folks that are pursuing the certificate itself, some folks that are just taking a class here and there because they're interested in that, and then some people that are pursuing the degree. Okay, so let's chat a little bit about our educational design. One of the goals that we have as we're targeting the learners for this type of education is to continue to enable you to work full-time. So we recognize that a traditional undergraduate degree that's full-time requires people to move to campus and to likely not be able to work. That's not the case in these certificates. Our goal is to permit you to continue working full-time, and that you can do it from the comfort of your living room or your kitchen or your bedroom, wherever you happen to set up your computer. You do not have to come and travel to Philadelphia to learn. The strength in that is that it allows students to engage from all around the world. And I'll be sharing some of the places that we've had students hail from thus far in the certificate in a little bit. And we feel that that strengthens that educational experience because the student diversity goes up. So when you're talking or having a conversation about well-being and the role of positive emotion, having that conversation with somebody who's domiciled in North America, as well as somebody who may be domiciled in Saudi Arabia, it's interesting to look at the differences in perspectives that people bring around what constitutes well-being, and to be able to discuss those in your classroom. There is a blend of both academic and experiential learning, and we'll talk about that experiential piece a little bit more when we talk about the classroom experience, but it's really foundational to the work that we do, and we feel critical. So I'll differentiate it. I always use this example of particle physics versus positive psychology. And while I will say I have nothing against particle physics, learning that material is a little different than learning positive psychology. So positive psychology is a bit immersive because it's about human well-being. So you're going to be trying out exercises and interventions that have been tested, some of them tested, some of them that are new, that enable you to try those on and think about, how is this influencing my own well-being? How is this influencing the well-being of the people around me as a result of what I'm trying? It is very important that some of these be road tested because there's nothing like, there's a difference between learning about, right? Whereas where you're keeping something at arm's distance, and acquaintance with, and where you really know what it's like to feel some of those experiences. And we're very focused on making sure that you're both learning about positive psychology and that you have personal acquaintance with the concept of well-being. Okay, as I mentioned, there are 4 courses that are in the certificate. I'll quickly run through these because I have a feeling you probably know about these since you've probably been to the website. Our 2 foundational courses have been designed and are taught by Margarita Tarragona, who is domiciled actually in Mexico City. She's a wonderful instructor and a clinical psychologist, and she teaches our foundational introduction to positive psychology, as well as our second level human flourishing. It's a course that focuses on strengths and resilience. About 60% of that course focuses on strengths, and then the other 40% on the concept of resilience. In addition, Meredith Myers, who is faculty here at the Wharton School, which is the business school at the University of Pennsylvania, teaches a course called Positive Psychology at Work. And then finally, our scientific method in positive psychology. Now, we're not expecting people in the APOP certificate to go on and to start conducting their own research. But what we do hope to accomplish is to enable you to be better consumers of the information that you see in the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or any other outlets that might be out there. There's a lot of information that's written about psychological studies, and for you to be a good consumer of that, it's important that you understand the scientific method. As a little preview, coming soon to a desktop near you, APOP 220. So Margarita is currently designing Flourishing with Others, Building Thriving Relationships. And that is a very multifaceted approach to relationships. So we can think about our relationship with ourselves as a starting point. We can think about dyadic relationships, the relationship that we have with a significant other or with a friend. We can think about friendships in larger groups. We can think about a workplace and a team and how effectively we work within that team. Then we can expand it out even further to our full organization, as well as to our full community. And then finally out as global citizens and how we flourish in that context too. So this course is intended to take you soup to nuts, right? It's not going to be solely focused on interactive experiences between 2 people, but we'll be looking at the relationships that we have more broadly because the human experience is very multifaceted. The next course, which doesn't even have a number yet, but is going to be coming in the spring of 2021. That one is going to be taught by Damien Crone. I'll introduce him in just a little bit. Damien's area of specialty is around moral psychology and how the values that we hold and what we think about in terms of right and wrong influences our ability to flourish and be happy ourselves, but also how well we get along with others and our ability to flourish in the larger societal context. So we're very excited about that upcoming course. Okay, let's take a dive now, and we're going to go into the classroom experience. As we're doing that, I want to take a pause. Jamie or Eileen, is there anything that you would like to add to anything that I've mentioned thus far?
No, but we did get a question. It wasn't put into the Q&A, but Adele had asked about the different components that you've been sharing, which is, that the certificate can be completed in a year, that the courses are 8 weeks, so they're pretty fast paced. And she just wanted to make sure that everything that was being described was about the same program, the certificate in applied positive psychology.
Thank you so much, Jamie. So Adele, thank you for that question. And yes, so that seems like when if you ask either or and somebody says yes, right? That sometimes feels frustrating, but let me explain. So the courses are a semester's worth of content that's compressed into an 8-week course. So within the context of a single semester, we divide those semesters into 2. So during the fall semester, there's fall 1 and fall 2. So you can take 2 courses during the fall semester. Then during the spring semester, we do the same, and we divide it up into spring 1 and spring 2. So you can take 2 courses during the spring semester. That enables you within the context of an academic year, which we would consider the fall and the spring semester, for you to complete all 4 courses. So while they are accelerated, we do encourage you to think about that these are a little bit of a workload. And if you are also working full time, that you would need to make sure that you're budgeting your time effectively. 2 courses at once would be pretty heavy, and we're going to talk about how many hours you can expect within the context of a single course. Yes, 4 courses taken within the context of 1 year, one academic year being a fall semester and a spring semester, each semester being divided up into 2 courses, fall 1, fall 2, and then during the spring, spring 1, spring 2. We also do offer some courses during the summer too. So our foundational course is going to be offered this summer. So I don't want to eliminate the summer semester as being impossible, but that also runs on the same timeline of the 8-week accelerated course. It's a great question. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the APOP classroom experience and what you can expect. The online platform that we use is called Canvas, and many of you, if you've been in an academic environment before, might be familiar with Canvas, which we feel is an absolutely wonderful tool. Canvas also integrates with a variety of other applications. So within Canvas, we have access to tools such as video, tools such as discussion boards, tools such as multimedia discussion boards, which I'll be spending a little bit more time speaking about momentarily. Within the classroom, you can expect, as I had mentioned earlier, a blend of both academic and experiential assignments. So I'll share with you, I actually just had a conversation with another gentleman who just graduated from the University of Pennsylvania a couple of years ago with his PhD from Marty Seligman. And Alejandro works at Columbia now and works with the United Nations on their sustainable development goals. And he had a question posed to him about, as we're looking to increase the level of flourishing in the world, where should we start? And especially thinking about classrooms and how information is communicated. And Alejandro said, without a doubt, we need to make sure that the people who are learning about positive psychology are flourishing themselves, because there are so many ways once somebody is healthy and flourishing that they role model that in a myriad of intangible ways for the people around them. And he said the only way to be able to do that is for it to be experiential. So I was delighted to hear that, first of all, because that's how our APOP classroom is designed. But really that is what we're hoping to do, is to provide you with the academic foundation, right? So that you have an understanding of where this information is coming from, how that research was conducted, and those foundational pieces of information that are peer reviewed and high quality in nature. But then we also have you road test it and do some experiential assignments too. So within that, you could expect that there would be videos that you would need to watch, some podcasts that you would need to listen to, some readings that you would need to read within the context of a week. You might have some academic papers to write and some reflection papers to write. So it is important that you recognize that there is some writing that is required as a part of this, and that we would want to make sure that you are buffing up your academic writing skills and prepared for that when you come in. There's still lots of support that's available to you, but sometimes people get a little surprised by the fact that there's some writing. There will be regular quizzes, but these are not intended, the design of the quizzes is intended to make sure that you are integrating the information along the way and understanding it well. So in some of our courses, we have weekly quizzes, and other courses it's bi-weekly quizzes. And that's to help you to stay on track and make sure that you're tracking with the information that you are integrating. There are experiential exercises where you're going to be asked to try some of these exercises on yourself, or maybe think about having a conversation with someone that's a strengths-based conversation. And you'll have the opportunity to have that experience and then say, what did I learn? And maybe you found out that it was amazing and life-changing when you did it. Maybe it was the other side and you said, boy, it felt like I didn't work at all. Maybe I did something wrong. But there's an opportunity for you to chat that through within the context of your small group with the oversight of an instructor. And then we do have some synchronous sessions. Some of those recitations will have conversation hours, and those are conducted via Zoom so that we can actually see one another. At least it may not be face-to-face, but we can get a visual on one another and know what to expect. Now, your time investment with those accelerated courses. So we both structure and design the courses in a particular way so that the full contact hours you would expect in a semester are accomplished within those 8 weeks. But we also poll our students too, just to make sure that what we think we're asking of them and delivering is actually what the experience is like. So what we have found through both of those means is that we're providing 5 contact hours and anticipating that there are an additional 5 to 10 study hours that you're going to be required to put in as you are reading and writing assignments and viewing videos and taking notes and whatnot. So the total workload comes out to be about 10 to 15 hours per week. As I'd mentioned earlier, it's primarily asynchronous, so you can do it on your own time, but some of it is synchronous in nature. Importantly, when we say asynchronous, that doesn't mean that you can start a course in week 1, not do anything in the course, and then try and catch up in week 8. There are regular deadlines that occur every single week. So you will need to stay on task with keeping those things done. And by and large, that is a mutual benefit. That's not only a benefit to your instructor, but it really, really helps your learning too. Your learning is far more robust if it's meted out over the course of the 8 weeks than if you're trying to get to it all at once. Okay, so I've included a couple of screenshots here so that you could see a little bit about what Canvas is like. This is the homepage that you would see on Canvas. You can see on the left-hand side, there's a toolbar that lists our syllabus and our modules and assignments and where you can find grades and whatnot. But I'd like to dive into a couple of things that you would find on Canvas. So one, our instructor lectures are embedded videos within Canvas. So where normally, if you were in an on-campus environment, you would go to a class at a particular time and your instructor would lecture to you during that time. In this case, you're going to go to class, but class is going to be opening up your laptop or your computer and being able to watch the video that's in front of you. And these are some pre-recorded lectures that our instructors have put in place. In addition to that, our instructors will often look at the themes that are emerging from the learnings within the class and the conversations that they're having with students and post a weekly video update to say, I'm seeing some of these themes. Here are the areas where you guys are really, really asking some interesting questions. Let's talk about some of those. Here are some areas that I would encourage you to continue to focus on and to ask questions about as we move forward. So there is a variety of different media that are integrated into that APOP classroom. In addition, some of those experiential exercises, while we can't control if people in a group are coming from different time zones, from Malaysia, and we have mentioned Saudi Arabia and Jordan. We've had students that have come from all over the world. What we can try and do is mimic the face-to-face environment as much as we can. So this is an example of a tool we use called VoiceThread, where an exercise is posted. In this case, it's about practicing a technique that's called active constructive responding, and you would practice that in your own life, and then you have the opportunity to provide feedback in a text format, in a PowerPoint format with a voiceover. You can actually call in, you can record a video. So there's a lot of different ways and it feels very multimedia-esque. Here's an example of a quiz that you might see. So you can, as I mentioned, the quizzes are at a regular cadence to help you to maintain your learning and to ensure that you're tracking on with the learning of the course, and for you to check out your own learning yourself and to make sure that you're pacing along effectively. So these are not intended to be weeders or to kick people out of the course or to be extraordinarily difficult or challenging. They're there to test your knowledge and make sure that you're integrating the knowledge that we'd like for you to integrate in the course. Okay, so let's chat a little bit about faculty and support. I had mentioned that there's some MAP oversight. My colleague, James Pawelski, who's the Director of Education, has oversight over all of the educational programs at the Positive Psychology Center. In particular, I serve as oversight for the undergraduate certificate and collaborate with James on the master's degree. And then I had mentioned that Jamie Kelly, who's our Director of Certificate and Non-Degree Programs, and Eileen are here with us. And between the three of us, we can help you with program questions, academic advising, admissions, application, and registration. In particular, I think we're going to do a little bit more of a dive around student support. And so I'd like to turn things over to my colleague, Jamie, to talk about the experience of being a student who is an online student on the Penn virtual campus. Jamie?
Wonderful, thank you, Leona. Once a student is admitted into the certificate program, aside from the incredible academic experience, there's so much that you have access to as an online student at Penn. And the first is that every student is assigned an academic advisor, and they will hear from their academic advisor within a few days of accepting their offer of admission. And they will walk them through the process of getting started and offer guidance on course selection and how to use their certificate to sort of move themselves forward in whichever way they plan to do that. Additionally, as you take courses, we think it's a priority that our online students have tech support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so if you are having any problems with your class or accessing anything, our tech support will be there to assist you. We also thought that it would be important for our online students to have access to tutoring services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Leona and I have chatted in the past about the component in our tutoring services that offers the ability to have your writing reviewed. And from someone who has sort of a 10-year gap between undergraduate and graduate school, I know what it's like to feel like it's been quite some time since you've written academically. And so those tutors will be able to review your writing and make sure that it's up to snuff for your assignments. You also, as a Penn student, have access to the libraries, and the Penn libraries have tremendous amount of information that you can access, studies, research, librarians that you can connect with that can send you things that you need digitally. And we actually have our own career services staff person who offers workshops throughout the month that include book clubs and working on your resume and all of other types of components. And she is there to support you if you are using the certificate to enhance your career. And then lastly, we have an online community of students where you can see what other students are up to professionally, personally, and get to know them. And that's my Penn LPS community. And in there, you can see where people are working and what they're doing and reach out to them. And yeah, I want to tell you a little bit about my the Penn LPS online students. And Leona will talk a little bit about the positive psychology students in particular. There's such a breadth of variety of the students that I've worked with. I have worked with students that are maybe just a few years out of receiving their high school diploma or GED and are thinking about going towards a bachelor's degree, perhaps with us, but want to start with the certificate because this is something they're very passionate about and very interested in. But additionally, there are students that have PhDs, MDs that are looking to add a certificate like positive psychology to benefit their very established career. And then I've seen people who, let's say, are retired and are looking to utilize courses or certificates to benefit them personally or in the volunteer work that they're doing.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie.
Of course.
Wonderful. So I'll quickly talk about our faculty. So as I mentioned, Margarita Tarragona is a clinical psychologist. She actually studied with me, Csikszentmihalyi, who is again one of the titans of positive psychology. And her real area of expertise is around positive psychology and therapy, coaching, and education. Meredith Myers, who is faculty at the Wharton School, has real expertise in how to apply some of these concepts within the workplace, which is an area of particular interest to many of our students. We're delighted that Claire Robertson Kraft, she actually has conducted some studies with Angela Duckworth. She's the founder of Impact Ed, where this is the work she lives and breathes and thinking about integrating educational policy that helps students to thrive. And then I had mentioned Damien Crone. Damien is actually from the University of Melbourne in Australia, and Damien serves as a postdoc in our our Humanities and Human Flourishing grant at the Positive Psychology Center and serves as a faculty member for us. So let's talk a little bit about some of the students and what you might expect from your classmates. Importantly, there's a lot of professional and academic breadth, as Jamie had mentioned. So professionally, a large range. We've seen folks who are in the business environment, people who are both active or retired military, faculty and administrators from other universities, collegiate and youth sports coaches, and more. And then so there's a large range too, right, with academically, from people who are high school grads who are entering into collegiate study for the first time, to individuals who hold advanced degrees and are interested in diving into these topics. Importantly, the courses are oriented toward an undergraduate experience. What we've seen thus far, and we've just kicked off in the spring of 2019, so we only have a year's worth of data, is that our students are usually in their mid-40s. Their nationality, they hail from, we've found 13 countries around the world, which you can see listed here. And of course, the United States too, everywhere as far west as California and as far south as Florida. And I know we have somebody from Florida with us tonight, so woohoo, Florida. Okay, so I'd like to just chat with you. I'll use one example. So Robert Marshall was a student who was in one of our classes, in our inaugural class. In spite of how serious he looks here, Robert is one of the most positive people I've ever met. And so he shared with us some of his thoughts about what his experience was like, and really emphasized the different methods of learning and how experiential it was. Robert laughs and describes himself as a traumatized writer when he first came to Penn, and that he felt really insecure about his writing, but he got lots of feedback, and he said, I got better every single week. In terms of what you can do with an APOP certificate, we had said that our goal is to help you to flourish and be more effective personally and professionally. So the certificate is different than certification. The certificate is evidence of successful completion of 4 undergraduate credits. It is not a credential. None of our programs within positive psychology are a credential, because there actually are no credentials in positive psychology that are regulated at a federal or state level. They are intended, again, to help you to be more personally and professionally effective. And in Robert's case, because he was a retired veteran, he was really interested in how to amplify well-being, and specifically meaning and purpose in veterans' lives. So he continues to work on those strategies for veterans, and he speaks at conferences, retreats, and local organizations in helping others that have also retired from the military and are interested in that type of service to thrive. Okay, so I'm going to turn things over at this point to our lovely Eileen, who is going to take us through the application process. Eileen, if you could unmute your microphone so that we can hear your wonderful voice. Great. Eileen, take it away.
Thank you, Leona. So as you can see, the application requirements, the application was pretty straightforward. We're going to need to know your educational background. We'll need to know also if you are proficient in English. If English is not your first language, we do require that you upload test scores from the TOEFL or IELTS exam. If English is not your first language, but you think you qualify for a waiver of these exams, you will be given an opportunity to request that after you submit your application. You'll be given instructions on how to do that, and our admissions team will review that and get back to you. We ask for this because there are projects and papers that will be assigned to you that require strong academic writing, and we want you to succeed. So that's why we ask for that information. And there is an application fee of $25. Here are the deadlines. Our summer class begins on May 26th, so there's still time if you want to register for that, and plenty of time, of course, to register for any of the other classes that begin in fall or spring of next year. Okay, here's the tuition. As you can see, the price for a course is $24.32. The total for the entire certificate for all 4 courses is $97.28. But keep in mind that you are only billed individually. You are never billed for the entire certificate at once. Even when you're accepted, you're not billed for anything until you register for a course. Billing is generated only by registration. So if you register for a course this summer and then don't register for another one until fall or even spring, you won't get a bill until you register for that second course. Because there's no federal aid, loans, or scholarship available for certificates, our students pay for tuition in the ways that are listed here: self-funded, employer benefits, military benefits. And we do have a payment plan option here at Penn. If you go to our website and click on the financial aid tab, you'll see that you can pay in installments. So there's that option, and we can give you that link. And this is really important. If I haven't talked to you already, or even if I have, please, please, please feel free to get in touch with me by calling me or emailing me. I will be happy to answer any questions you have. No questions too big or too small. I'll be happy to answer them all. That's why I'm here. So I hope to hear from you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Eileen. And